Welcome! Christine E. Schulze here, your favorite Elvish author, and this is my lovely boyfriend Isaac joining me today.
Hello!
And today, well, we're going to do another chapter reaction. Now, normally on chapter reactions, we do one of two things. Either we read from one of the books that I've written and published to introduce you to some of my work, or we read a book that often neither of us have ever read before to introduce us to some new books that we might want to read and to also help you guys discover some new books that you might want to read as well. Today, we're going to do kind of a little bit of both of those. We are going to be reading one of my fan fictions. So obviously this is something that I have read since I wrote it, but it's something that he has no experience with whatsoever.
Zero.
And the fan fiction that we're going to be reading from is called Demon Queen. And it is a fan fiction inspired by the Legend of Zelda, which is my favorite game series, if you haven't guessed by now, by the puzzle back here, and I'll have to show you guys some of my other posters sometime. But yeah, Demon Queen is a fan fiction, and this is perfect timing because Isaac and I just finished playing my favorite Zelda game literally last night. Skyward Sword. I have a lot of other favorites, but if I have to pick a top favorite, it's still Skyward Sword for me. The emotion, the character development, the spiritual and character development that Link goes on, the music, the characters overall, just everything. The gameplay was fun to me. I didn't hate any of the temples. In fact, the water temple was one of the best ones.
Was pretty good.
So
you cried so much.
You cried a lot too. Anyway. So Demon Queen is a fan fiction that I wrote a few years ago, back when I first played Skyward Sword on the Wii, and it became my favorite. So you have Girahim on the cover. A friend of mine named Ailey is one of her artist names, and she did the cover art for me. So it's definitely a fan fiction of Skyward Sword in the sense that, well, it's really more a fan fiction about Girahim's character. But it also has some crossover with Ocarina of Time, which I won't say anything else about because that would just spoil the whole thing for y'all. I just want to point out that I'm kind of dressed for the occasion of the book because I'm wearing, so this is my Trinity I work at a place called Trinity, so this is my work shirt. But look, it has these little diamonds on it. Just like Girahim has little diamonds and V has little diamonds. I got these little diamonds right here. So I'm even dressed for this book reading.
Me too. I'm wearing black. That signifies darkness.
So before we jump in, I just want to take a moment to say that if anybody is interested in reading this for themselves, it is available as an ebook download on a site called Smashwords, as well as Kobo. Barnes & Noble has it as well. Obviously, I have a print copy here because I was able to make a print copy for myself. But I can't sell the print copies because, of course, this dude does belong to Nintendo, and I don't really feel like getting sued. So I've made a few copies for myself, but if you want to read it, you can definitely read it in ebook form. We're going to actually end up reading the whole thing since it's available for free anyway, and I think that it's going to be fun to read the whole thing. So you will be getting a chapter from this every week, along with my regular chapter reactions. I think that's about all I need to say about it as an intro. We're going to jump in. And we're going to read from Demon Queen. So strap on your elf ears, or in this case, your Hylian ears, and get ready to listen. As usual, we want to go ahead and get started with the blurb. And the blurb says, Girahim is a lord of demons. He fears nothing. He loves nothing. He needs no one. He was made only to conquer, to destroy, to make ready the way for the return of his master Demise. But when he is sent to the above to do just that, he decides that he was made also for another purpose, to rule. Joining forces with two Gerudo sorceresses, Girahim takes matters into his own hands, even as he plots to take the Hylian throne. The arrogant demon soon discovers that he's taken on more than he bargained for. The sorceresses have their own agenda, and the armies he needs are sealed by an ancient magic no one can unlock. The greatest mystery of all lies within a Hylian girl who can read the language of the gods and hold Girahim spellbound in a way no mortal should be able to. Who is this girl who harnesses powers so unusual to her kind, who does not fear him in the least? Only once before has he ever encountered a mortal with such a strong and unbreakable spirit. Girahim can't guess who she might be. All he knows is that he will stop at nothing to make himself king of Hyrule, and her his demon queen. Are you intrigued? Are you intrigued? All right, let's get into it, shall we, my little readers? This one has a prologue. You love prologues.
I like prologues.
He loves prologues. He's writing a book right now that has
Tell them about
three prologues. So
it's a secret.
Is that a spoiler?
Yeah.
That is not. Okay. Anyway.
I'm also a writer.
Yes. It's going to be a masterpiece. All right. Yeah. You ready for the prologue?
Are you?
I'm always ready for a prologue. Let's do it. Girahim stood in the endlessly stretching quiet of the dark realm. He scoffed at serene emptiness, what some might call peace. To him, it was death. It was mad torture. It was his prison. He had been created to do, to explore, to conquer. No opportunity for victory dwelled here. His master, Demise, the Demon King, stood mere feet from him. The flames waving from his head in long red gold tendrils provided the only light, giving him the appearance of a mighty lion with a mane formed of fire. As he drew his sword, it glinted in the firelight with the same cool malice pulsing through and emanating from the Demon King's entire body. Fresh rage sparked in Demise's narrow gaze. He raised his sword ever so slightly, yet with clear purpose. Girahim flinched. The Demon King watched him. Girahim, Demise said at last, my sword spirit, chosen by the gods to serve me faithfully in all things. And yet you have proven once more to be a childish, disappointing aid, intent only on seeking your own glory. Ever have I applauded your fierce determination, but now, as before, you have failed me. It was your own thirst for triumph that proves my demise now as then. So the cycle repeats itself. You are too beautiful. You are too passionate. You are too extravagant. What sort of servant have the gods cursed me with? Even the chosen hero servant was more useful. The flames surrounding the Demon King flared high. The fire gleaming inside his gaze reflected the hatred burning steadily in his heart. He stood perfectly still, unblinking, unmoving, watching. Girahim knew his master spoke truth and let his silence speak his shameless agreement. He had cared too much for himself, had reached too high as always. Such was not the sword spirit's purpose. Perhaps you can explain, Demise continued, one last time, why you failed me so miserably. The girl was handed to you. The boy was clearly no threat. Yet, you let her beguile you. You focused on your dreams of what you could become, instead of seeking to raise up your master who would have rewarded you with 100 such women. And even then, you fought not as a demon, but as a child. The plan should have been seamless for one of your power. Of what power do you speak, master? Girahim said, a bite in his voice as his anger began to creep up slowly, overshadowing his fear. I am a mere servant, a weapon, to be wielded in your hands. The Demon King clenched his sword even tighter. His knuckles turned a ghostly white. Muscles pulsed visibly inside his thick arms. Do not blame your master for your failures. Do not blame the great king whose existence is your existence. You have no more chances or excuses, Girahim. The girl was handed to you, and the boy. You had no right to let either of them go. That was not your master's will. But it was mine. I was not created to kill needlessly, not even in your service. How could I have known the boy would pose such a threat? How could I know my single mercy? You were not created to show mercy, the Demon King thundered. You were not created to follow the devices of your own will. That boy was the one who would stand in my way. It is your single mercy that would have turned all my efforts to ash. You had him in your grasp, and you let him go. Before he even knew what a threat he was, you could have destroyed him. Instead, as before, you showed weakness unbefitting the sword spirit of the Demon King. But the girl, Girahim persisted. She was no more a natural creature than either of us. The power of the goddess certainly rested within her. There was truly an unnatural force within her. She bewitched me in a way I thought not possible. A snarl ripped from the Demon King's throat. An unnatural force, he seethed, his blazing eyes devoid now of the small shred of patience he had reserved for his servant a moment ago. Of course she was held by an unnatural force. The spirit of the hero resided within her, and you failed in doing the one thing you were meant to stop her from passing that on. You could have broken the line. I could now be king for all eternity instead of yet being imprisoned in this pit of tainted light and fire and emptiness. My lord, Girahim pleaded, though all his hope had vanished. He understood he had failed. He understood he had failed irrevocably this time. He understood everything too well. There is still the other child. Did you not say he would prove a worthy vessel? It is not the way I would have things done. I would not have chosen to lower myself, to empty my spirit into some weak mortal vessel of flesh and bone, save that you leave me no choice. The goddess once did the same. It seemed to work well enough for her. Demai stared, seemingly caught off guard at Girahim's boldness. Girahim stared back. He knew now that he taunted his master, but it was of no consequence. The pure malice in the Demon King's eyes assured Girahim that he could no longer hope to save himself. If these were his last moments to be free, to be himself, he may as well let his thoughts roll off his tongue for once. Useless, pathetic servant, Demise hissed. The gods made a mistake in fashioning you. You've been given everything you could desire. You've been lavished with every extravagance, treated like the lord you so fancy yourself. You've been spoiled like a suckling child, but no more. You remain my only connection to the outside world, but that means I must teach you. You must know pain. You must know suffering. You must know torment and longing and failure. Perhaps then you will take your purpose seriously. Perhaps then you will show gratitude to the one to whom you owe your existence. Girahim knew what his master intended. The truth hit him like a wave, and for the first time, Girahim, Lord of Demons, wanted to weep, if only to bewail the imminent fall of his beauty, grace, and utter brilliance. The Dark Realm had never given birth to another like him, nor would it. He wanted to weep, if only to bewail the sorry fate of the world being stripped of such a beautiful creature as himself. But no tears would come to him. He was not made to weep. He knew that, before the end, he would go mad, that his brilliant mind would shatter and the torment dragging him in so many opposite directions. He didn't want to go mad. He wanted to die before that happened. But he could not die. He was not born to die. He was created to prevail, for one purpose and one alone. He was made to serve one master. It was hard to tell whether he hated his master or hated himself, whether he hated or loved anything at all, or whether he was even capable of love. The only thing he knew for certain was a burning hunger, a torturous need, a never-sleeping, compelling drive. Once his master did what he prepared to do, Girahim would never be satiated, could never rest, never so much as glimpse the meaning of free, until that hideous irony came to pass, until the Demon King had been freed once more, and set up his reign for all eternity. And that is the end to the prologue of Demon Queen.
I forgot that was just the prologue.
Oh, we've just started, but what are your thoughts, good sir, so far?
I think it's really cool that I just finished the game last night. This is like continuing on this story.
Yeah. So not too much there. Hopefully enough to whet your appetite and watch the future videos. Obviously, we have a situation where Demise is pissed at Girahim because Girahim messed up something. We don't know what yet. Obviously, we know it involves, sounds like, the hero and a girl. Is it going to be Zelda? Is it going to be somebody else? You'll have to watch the next video to find out. And you'll have to watch the next video to find out.
I'm going to be in the next video.
Participate. Yep. So, on that note, I will leave some links down below if you just can't wait and you'd like to go read the story for yourself. They're not, like, physically down below you. Okay, anyway, I'll leave some links down below. On that note, happy reading. May you be inspired with whatever you go on to read. And I will see you, and maybe this guy, in my next video.
Goodbye!